Welcome, friends, to Tanked Up, the podcast all about video games and beer. I'm one of your hosts, Ben, here again with Lucy.
Again, Ben. Again.
I know, again, second week in a row. Just the two of us. Adel is back from his holidays, but he's ill, so he's not here. So get better soon, Adel. We will just drink in his stead.
Yeah.
What are you going to drink,
In his
Lucy?
honour.
Absolutely.
Can't remember if any of us have had this before. But it's called Gamer.
Oh.
And it's from Dark Revolution.
Oh, no, I have not had that before.
Yeah. I don't know if it's new. Because the place that I went, they did. They had a few of, Dark Revolution's, I think just core beers that I've had before. And I was like, I haven't seen Gamer, so I don't actually know how long it's been around, so maybe it's a new one. It's a small batch series.
Nice.
So maybe a one and done thing. It says it's going to be dry, fruit and crisp. Cold side of the brew, Simcoe and Amarillo. Hot side is Mosaic. Yeast is just their house yeast.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a 4.2% pale ale.
Nice. Keeping it light.
Yes. Well, it was because it's Gamer, and I was like, whatever.
Yeah, I mean,
whatever strength it is.
Again, I suppose it kind of fits with the notion of drinking and playing video games at the same time and wanting something light, maybe, even though we probably don't do that.
No, I don't tend to, because I don't know, I like being able to concentrate, and when I drink, I like just drinking and talking, and when I'm gaming, because I'm a pro gamer like that.
You can't let it affect your Titanfall 2 skills, that's what it is.
No. Not that I ever played. Did you ever play that? The multiplayer for, Titanfall 2?
Like 5 or 6 matches, but that was about it. And that was only in beta as well.
Oh, okay. I wasn't a fan of what they did to the game from the first one, and I didn't play any of the multiplayer on 2. It was just I put like 200 hours into the first one, but it's a shame because those servers are no longer up, I think, because of cheaters and stuff, and I think it was just easier to shut it down than to combat the cheaters and stuff like that. So shame. Yeah, shame, isn't it?
It's Titanfall is EA published, isn't it? They want to save their money for all their executives' bonuses, don't they? And dividends. So get rid of all those old things. No one cares.
Sad.
Yeah, absolutely. I am similar in that I don't drink a huge amount when I game, but I might have one beer, and usually it is kind of. It doesn't matter what the percentage is. It's kind of like, I fancy a stout tonight. It will be 9%. Cool. I fancy a double IPA tonight. It's 8%. Cool. I fancy just whatever I've got. Oh, it's a lager. It's 4%. Fine. Never really tracks with kind of what I'm playing or anything like that. So, but like you, I enjoy drinking and talking. So I'm going to open a beer as well. This is a beer from Arbor. So it's a nice big pint can, and it's called Under My Umbrella, which is a collaboration brew for International Women's Day, which was about a month ago-ish, 4 weeks ago, something like that. This is a New England Pale Ale. It was canned on the 22nd of March, so about a week ago, 10 odd days ago, this was canned. It is 4.7%. There's a little bit of flavour text. Brewed to celebrate International Women's Day and to support local women's charity Womankind Bristol, this New England Pale Ale was made with Eclipse, Enigma and Ella hops. This brew day was led by Arbor brewer Ella, with a little help from our own Meg, Sarah and Amber, and Anna and Ray from Womankind Bristol. 50 pence the sale of this can goes towards helping to fund this charity. Cool. I didn't know that. So, just 50p. Fair enough. We brought a couple more. Well, I say that. I'll see what it's like, and then perhaps I'll go and buy a couple more. And if it's not great, I could just give them a quid, maybe, instead.
Yeah. Charity starts in the liver. So.
Oh, I mean, at home, absolutely. By being kind to your own liver, potentially, and only drinking 4% beers. How is the Dark Revolution Gamer?
Yeah, it's nice straw color. Nice foamy head that's just sticking to the glass. It's not going anywhere.
Mm.
Aroma very nice, very slightly light, but yeah, got your tropical fruits in there.
Mm-hmm.
A bit of mango, maybe a bit of pineapple in there, citrus. Yeah, pleasant aroma. Taste wise, it's really refreshing. It's again, it's quite light on the taste, just like the aroma.
Mm-hmm.
Um, slightly bitter on the end, but just light citrusy notes really. Not it. I mean, it's 4.2%. You're not getting like tons of fruit like the dipper free that I had last week.
Yeah.
But no, it's just pleasant. It's inoffensive. It's well rounded. I think the slight bit of bitterness and pininess on the end just balances it all out. And yeah, there's not much to say. Like, I mean, not really getting much of the mosaic hops, and that's probably because well, they would have dry hopped that, so I'm not getting much of that on the aroma. Maybe a hint, but it is very light, just like the taste of it. So
Yeah.
just not getting a lot, but that's fine. It's 4.2% beer.
Mm.
In terms of being a pale ale, it's a very good one. It's got a decent amount of body, so even though it's like light in the aroma, light on the citrusy notes, it's not thin, it's not watery, it's not wishy-washy. So getting a nice bit of body, nice bit of flavour in it, and yeah, very refreshing. I think I would have preferred if it was a bit more hoppy.
Okay. Yeah.
It's a bit more crispness and effervescence at like, especially the end. The bitterness just goes with like it sort of like goes all the way through. There's no ups and downs with the hoppiness in terms of like what you're getting. It's very okay. The journey from the start is similar to that of the end,
Yeah.
other than it being a bit refreshing, I guess. But yeah, I mean, good. It's good. I don't know how it pertains to games. God knows. Just don't think it says anything on the can. Maybe they just thought this is decent, cool art. Stick it on the can, call it gamer, and and be done with it. Yeah, it's getting in our audience, Ben. It's getting us
Good.
pro gamers to drink.
Absolutely. More of them need to drink. They're all boring motherfuckers. I don't know. I've never met a pro gamer before, so I've got no idea.
No. I mean, we've met a deal, so
I think that's pro game collecting,
okay.
rather than playing.
There's a difference, right? Okay.
Only just. So this under my umbrella? Under my umbrella, yes. It's nice. It started off with a bit of an odd kind of first taste, but it's maybe it is quite straw. It's got a touch of orange to it, but it's very very pale in colour. Nice head which laces lovely to the glass as well. It's medium bodied and it's got a nice mouthfeel to it. It's very soft and smooth, with the New England, I suppose, creeping in with that kind of that level of softness to it. But the taste and the nose is quite light. The nose is sort of maybe a little bit of kind of ripe mango in there, but not a big nose. There's a tiny touch of that kind of slight dankness that comes with maybe a very ripe or slightly overripe kind of tropical fruit as well. But the flavour was very interesting because at first it was this big hit of very kind of like ashy, smoky sort of flavors. And I don't know whether that was something to do with the like can conditioning, whether it cracked the can and just the mix of gases and things like that produced something like that, because that's gone almost instantly. Now that was only really there on the first couple of tastes.
Weird.
But it's unfortunately stuck a little bit in the back of my throat, and I don't know whether it's because the beer is still giving it to me, or whether it was just strong enough that it's then affecting it. So I have to come back to that element to see if it's there a little bit. But flavour-wise, for the rest of the beer,
tastes like an ashtray.
Not quite there. Maybe spilled some mango juice in an ashtray. It's really light, the flavour. So there is that slight tropical fruit there. And again, it feels a little bit overripe mango. It's got a little bit of dankness to it. Not much, but it's very, very soft. And I'm getting maybe, I suppose, more tropical stone fruit than I am more traditional sort of like peachy apricots. But it edges towards that a little bit. So it does have that slight sweetness of a mango, but it edges towards that slightly softer stone fruit as well. And it's very easy. Now that that smokiness has kind of gone, it's really, really easy to drink, which is great, because as with the Gamer, at like 4.7%, it's probably not going to last very long. So having that softness, having that smoothness, having that not massive flavour to it, just adds for its kind of moorish quality. And it definitely has that. The flavour is nice. So I want to keep refreshing myself. And again, don't know whether it's part of the beer or from the can. That smokiness, it's made it really dry. So I am going back to it quite a lot because it's making me. More so maybe than I would normally. I had the Wiper and True have just put out their Kiwi Lilt XL. So it's their standard Kiwi Lilt that they put out maybe every year, but just dialed up a little bit. And that beer is incredibly moorish. That is I've just had a sip. Oh no, I just want to basically just chug the entire thing in kind of one go, really, because of how moorish it just feels. This has elements of that, but there's just something holding it back a little bit, just making it a touch dry, to kind of force me to want to go back in for the flavour rather than wanting to.
Okay.
But it's nice. It's nice. It's nice and soft, nice and smooth. So yeah, I'll come back to it a little bit later and see if that smokiness is still there. I don't think I've ever had this combination, Eclipse, Enigma and Ella, before. So I have no experience to draw on with the rest of that. So should we move into games for this episode?
I mean, we can, theoretically.
Ooh. Have you had a bit of a dry week, Lucy?
Yes, I haven't played anything.
Have you not? Nothing at all.
I think I got an achievement on Vampire Survivors for Microsoft rewards points, but other than that, no.
Fair. Okay.
Nothing. The Steam Deck is just there, just sitting there. Just not in the mood. I was thinking of because I bought Storyteller, the Annapurna joint. I think it only came out about a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
I was thinking of getting stuck into that. It's a short little puzzle game, but until I do, nothing.
That's fair. That's absolutely fair.
Yes,
I've also
it's all on you.
Well, I've had limited time, but I have managed to find about 4 hours to put into The Last Worker. I mentioned it last week, and I wanted to sort of start it. And I did have an evening, which I put only about an hour and a half in the end. And I found a little bit of time since then to play a little bit more. This is a kind of narrative adventure game, I suppose, but set in a first-person perspective. very specifically set in a first-person perspective because it is like a VR-enabled game. And I think it's been crafted in a way that actually VR would be the better place to play it, rather than how I'm playing it, which is just on a screen with a control pad. It's made by or developed by Oifi and Wolf and Wood, and published by Wired. And I've seen a lot of promotion for it. I think because it's sort of pushed as this kind of next big narrative kind of adventure, I suppose. And it succeeds in quite a lot of ways in what it's sort of, I suppose, trying to do. Like, it's very good at telling the narrative that it has done so far, at mixing up the kind of the gameplay and pushing forward that narrative without me feeling like I've got to do one over the other. So it is all about a guy called Kurt, who is basically the last worker in a massive distribution center. So think of Amazon, but times a million. And Kurt basically lives on this little hover platform in which you can go up and down and all around the just shelves and shelves and shelves and shelves and shelves of items to be able to pick and post. So whilst it pushes that kind of narrative, you've still got this element in the background of him being a worker, like, do your job, and getting a rating at the end of a shift. And there is an element, and I think there's probably a game over state. I haven't had one, but it constantly says, make sure you get if you're on a part of the game where you're doing a shift, it says make sure you get a ranking above this, otherwise you might get fired. And I've not got to a point yet where I've tested that out or failed enough. I think it's quite lenient in how it allows you to do those kinds of things, because the way that you actually interact with the environment and with everything is with this kind of with this tool, with this handheld tool. And this is where very much the VR element would come into it. So you've got this tool, and you can basically use it to grab items. It has this like beam, and it will grab a box, and it kind of pulls it towards you. You put it on your platform. Part of the kind of delivery aspect is you've got to check that it's not damaged, that it's the same weight and the same size that it says as stickers on the box. So there's a little bit of spinning it around and looking at it and making sure that it's all okay, putting it on your little platform which has a scales on, and making sure that it conforms. Take it off and deliver it, or say that it's wrong or that it's damaged and put it somewhere else to be disposed of. You do that a couple of times, and then the narrative really kind of kicks in, and kind of shit goes down, and you find yourself kind of going through the bowels of this giant distribution center and into areas where you might not normally access. There's a lot of times where Kurt says, I shouldn't be going there. That's off limits. I shouldn't be doing that kind of thing. But you get a sense that actually he can kind of almost do what he likes, because whilst there's like patrolling robots that should stop him, you know, the game gives you tools to be able to get around that kind of thing. And actually there's a narrative element to a part of the game to push you to get around that kind of thing. And everything is delivered. You don't see any of the people. Everything is delivered through holograms, through robots talking to you, and all of these kinds of things. And you get the sort of the sense that whilst you have people talking to you, that Kurt is very much alone in this kind of space. And I think it balances that kind of level of him feeling maybe a little bit lonely, a little bit isolated, versus then this kind of bigger push of the narrative to be like, right, you've got to do something to help us and assist, which is almost this world-changing event kind of thing. So it sort of makes you feel very menial, like you've just got to do that job, that you're living by yourself, that there's no one else here, yet tying it back into saying, actually, there is a much bigger element of this world that you can kind of help, without sort of saying, yes, there are people still alive, or no, actually, all of these things that you're thinking about actually happened like hundreds of years, or not hundreds of years, because he worked there whilst other people worked there. They've just slowly lost their jobs or various other things kind of over the years. So you don't really know whether society is kind of in disarray outside, whether society exists, whether you've been nice and protected being in this ginormous kind of bunker distribution center. But it doesn't even skirt the edge of being political. It likes to be, and it has a very political kind of edge to it. So with its story, it's sort of dancing around those kinds of ideas, but actually in the delivery of some of its slightly more comical moments, it gets incredibly political. You know, one of the deliveries, and it shows you as a hologram on your platform what you've just sent out for delivery. And one of them is a troll doll, so big naked troll with big hair, but it's Donald Trump.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, there's dialogue around that kind of thing, and there's lots of dialogue around the idea of labor and working for big corporations and those kinds of things. Like, it very much wears that element out in the open for everyone to kind of digest and, I suppose, either agree with or not.
Yeah. And how do you like that kind of heavy-handed, almost abrasive kind of approach? Talking anti-capitalist things.
I mean, I'm pretty anti-capitalist.
Yeah, you can agree with the message, but the way it's delivered,
I think so far it's been fine. So far, I haven't felt like it's been too egregious or that it's been out of place. It sets the tone pretty quickly, and Kurt is very much, through the dialogue, like a company man. Like, he wants to be there. He wants to keep doing his job. You know, he's living in like almost squalor in just this like area where all of the rubbish is kind of dumped, and he's made his sort of home there, and just kind of lives in this space. So he's very kind of company man when it comes to that sort of stuff. That I think it kind of juxtaposes a little bit of that. You know, the kind of the chat that you're getting from Kurt and I don't remember the name of the robot that he hangs out with, but when those other elements start to come in, so this group that want to kind of bring down Young, which is the corporation, and another robot which turns up which wants to help you to do that, it comes in not heavy-handed with the kind of sort of activist element, but it weaves it in quite nicely, I suppose, and weaves it in quite naturally as well. So there are moments where there'll be some dialogue and they're all sad for reason, but actually it's a nice progression from the story that you've had so far. It's not suddenly like, oh, blah, 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 but capitalism is bad. It very much builds and builds and builds for there to be that bit of a hit for you to think, oh shit, okay, yeah, capitalism is bad. All right, okay. So I mean, it very much seems like that is the key message from this so far. As I say, I'm only like 4 hours in, so I don't know how far or how long the game is, but with it being, I think, more developed for VR, I could see it being maybe 6 to 8 hours potentially, something like that. I wouldn't imagine it's a huge game, and it's only about 20 quid as well. So it's not an expensive game either. So it's not actually, it's £16. So mid-price kind of game. There's absolutely a ton of achievements. There's 31 achievements. I've probably only got like 10 or something like that. So maybe there's another kind of
possibly
10 story progression kind of one. So I'm about halfway through, sort of thing. But it's starting to ramp up the stakes quite quickly. And when you're taken out of that kind of delivery aspect of the gameplay, the rest of it is a little bit more kind of corridor-esque. You're pushed through these kind of vents, and the back rooms of this this space, trying to get around patrol robots and sneak through and those kinds of things. And it's all been a little bit sort of slow moving, apart from the delivery aspect, which wants you to do it as quickly as possible, until I came up to a boss, and I had to use the gun to pull things away from this boss. It wasn't too difficult. It got a touch frustrating when I thought I was doing something wrong, tried to correct that, only to realise that it just happened anyway. It wasn't me doing something wrong, it was just a different progression bar, essentially, than me actually getting it wrong. So I realised that I had to just focus on the other kind of element of defeating this kind of boss. And it looks really good, it sounds really good, the voice acting is excellent, the gameplay is fun, if a little bit kind of fleeting, because there's a lot of story in between these kinds of gameplay elements to ingest. So it's definitely more of a narrative kind of game than it is action. Or I suppose the other thing, it's not first-person shooter, but it's kind of first-person action more than anything else. So it just kind of, it hits quite nicely as a, I suppose, not even a parody, but like a comedy kind of product, taking the piss out of corporations, of which this character Kurt is very much a part of.
Yeah. I mean, I think you've sold me on it. I was just a bit hesitant to see how heavy-handed that anti-capitalist message is. But if you say it's very consistent and it's making a point, and it's just not ashamed to make that point, even with the Trump troll dolls, then I'm interested. I just kept thinking of the Valve game that they released, the Portal one, when the Steam Deck came out too.
Oh, Alex?
No, that was the VR one.
Yeah.
No, the little, basically the thing that tutorialized how to use a Steam Deck. I think you can just play it on Steam.
Right. Yes. Yeah.
Without even having a Steam Deck. What was that thing called? Steam Deck Portal game. Aperture Desk Job. Yes, Aperture Desk Job. That was great. It was probably about 20 minutes long. But why don't they make another Portal? Why don't they do it? Yeah, don't play it if you ever want Portal in your life, another Portal, because you just think that it's just Valve can make games and they make them well. Just don't. What are all those talented people doing there? Making Dota skins, probably. I don't know. I was just thinking of that and Wilmot's Warehouse, which is a very good game. Poor Wilmot. I was stressed playing that game, thinking Wilmot's going to get laid off. I don't get the Amazon packages delivered in time. I was just like,
well, I think this. I think the Last Worker does quite well in that element of not making you too stressed in those delivery kind of items. I've just got back into, so the next mission is after a big set of narrative stuff, and I've got to try and get somewhere basically, and I have like a task, and like almost a covert task to do whilst being in like a shift. It very much comes up and says you must get an F rank or above to not get fired. So I've got to try and balance, and I've had to do this earlier as well, like balance the progression of the narrative and that loop of being that delivery guy, of getting those items and pushing them out. And I would hope that it doesn't ramp up the difficulty enough in that kind of sense that it's going to cause much kind of stress and anxiety. There's lots of other things in this game which would make people feel more anxious, like stuff happening in the narrative, and that sort of stuff. To not, or at least to find a balance and a mix of that gameplay being fun whilst also being, challenging, at least, of being like, great, have I got to make one? Have I got to make two? Have I got to make 3 deliveries to keep that ranking before I then can do a little bit of the story? Or can I just kind of skirt it a bit, do some of the story, and then think, oh shit, I'll just do 1 delivery, okay, that's brought me up enough. Like, hopefully that balance is kind of there. I've not had whilst I've had to balance them, I don't think I've had the consequence of actually having to do some narrative stuff and then getting to the end of a shift yet to know whether I've needed to have to balance them out that much. So hopefully if there is a consequence as such with that element, I might be able to report back that it isn't that stressful.
Okay.
But it would tie in quite well with the narrative and with the idea that I'm a menial delivery guy, with it being stressful and me experiencing that as well.
I have a feeling it's going to ramp up and things will get very stressful for you. So, well, it sounds interesting. It's good. It's good that it seems to have, even though the long, tale of like seeing this game being advertised and PR and stuff, that it has paid off. So that's good.
Yeah, absolutely. It's one that I always say I'll keep playing whatever X game, but I put so many games down this year. I'll get to a point where I'm like, there's another code's come in or something else is released, and I'm like, I'm not really feeling the last thing. Yeah, I'm enjoying it, but it doesn't sit with the time that I've got to play things and that sort of stuff. But I'd like to see this story through. I think it's kind of how I'm playing like Final Fantasy Crisis Core at the moment as well. Like I want to see that story through, but I'm getting to play that like 6 a.m. for half an hour or something like that. So I'm barely awake. I've got children climbing on me or sat near me trying to eat things that they shouldn't eat, and I'm like, right, I'll just play some of the missions and just do some of the combat stuff and just play this as some kind of minor escape from having to be a shepherd first thing in the morning. Whereas I think The Last Worker is much more of I'm invested in this a little bit more. I want to see the story through, and whilst I want to do that with Crisis Core, I can very much just sit there and kind of take that game as it kind of comes. Be like, yep, I'll do a couple more missions, cool. Now I'll progress the story a bit, great, here's the save point. I'll do a couple more missions. Because knowing Final Fantasy, I'll get to the end and I'll need at least 4 hours to actually see all of the final cutscenes and things like that. I doubt it's going to be like that for Crisis Core, because it was a PSP game, and I would think that they'd probably done that a little differently because of the handheld element. Maybe not made it quite so egregious in its cutscene lengths and things. But we'll see.
We'll see about that one. Good luck.
I'll come back in like October. Like I finally finished Crisis Core because I watched this end cutscene 16 times because I've had to restart it every single time that I've paused it and then come out of the game or something ridiculous like that. Or it's just taking me that long, that many half an hour slots, every other morning to actually see it through. But I was talking to Adol a couple of weeks ago on the episode about the enjoyment of that kind of thing, and him very much sort of saying, if you're not feeling it, just drop it. And there's been a couple of things that I have. I started Terra Nil a couple of weeks ago. Kind of, I got to a point where I'm like, I'm just going to drop it a little bit. It feels a little bit repetitive. It's not the best experience on mobile. So unfortunately, drop that. But
the thing is that like, especially video games, you can just you can pick them up at any other point. You know what I mean? It's like there's been so many games over the years that it's like, okay, I'm not feeling this, I'm not in the mood for it, or I don't like the platform that I'm playing it on, or something like
Yeah,
that. It just
yeah,
feels better on a different platform, wherever that's mouse and keyboard or touchscreen, or having it this close to your face on a handheld, whatever it is. It's like, you know, unless well, I think people are getting a bit better at making sure games follow on to different, newer consoles and stuff like that. And if you got Steam, it's really not a problem. So yeah, it's like so many times I've started something, dropped it, and then maybe come back to it. So yeah,
yeah,
just the way things are.
yeah. Absolutely,
Mm.
absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
So I can't remember where we left off. Who knows?
Talking
Um,
about the last worker, and then I think we had wrapped that up though.
yeah, pretty much, pretty much. I did see, and something I wanted to bring to your attention, that Celeste has been
Mm.
released on the Playdate.
Yeah, the original. Is it the Pico 8 build?
Mm-hmm.
Basically, the prototype for Celeste. Yeah, I have yet to update my Playdate because they did a big update recently where they've launched their own shop on the
Okay.
actual console and keyboard games. I just haven't got around to updating it just yet, so that's been on my list. But yeah, don't think I'll play it because I played the original Pico 8 version of Celeste. It's nice to see, the bones of where, Celeste proper
Mm-hmm.
came from. But I mean, the actual game is just so good. So much polish and so much more. The art, the sound, everything.
Mm.
But yeah, it's a bit hard to go back.
Do you
Yeah,
know
that's
if?
really cool.
And I suppose this talks to a wider. Wait, am I mixing up my handhelds? Is the Playdate
Probably.
the handheld with the crank?
Yes, it is.
Yes, right, fine. My point then stands. It, does it utilize anything in terms of the crank and the idea of it, being on the Playdate? Is this essentially just another place to kind of to put it and have? And have you started to find, obviously not updating it a bit to get that new sort of
Mhm.
stuff, have you found that kind of games coming out on the Playdate don't necessarily utilize the kind of the crank and the
I
kind of the
mean,
console kind of exclusive elements?
some of them do, but the ones that do use the crank are usually the ones that are more gimmicky, and the
Mm-hmm.
ones that are like, okay, I'll try it for a bit.
Yeah.
Don't really have much of a long tail. Just as you say, gimmicky, cool little things, but just tiny little experiences. There are some games which like it's not just a gimmick, and it is a core part of the game. But
Mm-hmm.
a lot of those games are like very arcadey, and those are the ones that okay, you can go back to. You can just as you would with a mobile game that you play religiously or something like that. I can't remember the name of the game. It's with penguins going up and down in a elevator. Elevator game.
Elevator penguin.
Yeah, literally one search for Playdate. Beeping. Turn that off. Flipper lifter. Now that's like yeah, you're basically just delivering all these penguins to different floors of this hotel,
Mm-hmm.
and you crank the crank for the elevator to go up and down, and that's just like, yeah, that's a cool little game that I find myself playing every now and then, just as a little time waster.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think the more long form games and the deeper experiences, also the ones that often cost a bit more, are just maybe little adventure games or stuff like that, and yeah, I think it's there's a good diversity in terms of the portfolio on there with all these, especially if you go onto itch, people making all kinds of
Yep.
stuff, like photography games to visual novels and sim planting games and stuff like that. So yeah, it's very much a novelty, uh, you know, um, handheld in terms of the crank and everything. But I think what's going to give it its tail is just having that audience. A lot of the people who publish on itch and stuff like that, seeing, oh yeah, this is cool, work within the limitations of the handheld and just put random weird stuff on it. I guess, I mean, like we were talking about the Last Worker. They put out a game on the Playdate. It's called the Catalog, the store. And maybe it could be, okay, here's this maybe paid, maybe free thing that we're going to loop in this audience, just another place to put things. I mean, if you got the budget, and a lot of the, it's just you see so much weird PR for games now. Like the Resident Evil 4, they had like this cutesy anime kind of come out for it, which is pretty good. These very small shorts, and it's like that's money and time and stuff. But it's like, yeah, if you have that and you're advertising to a very particular niche, like the sort of people who would play on Playdate, would play an indie game like The Last Worker, could just be something that's just like, yeah, we made this weird thing on Playdate as just part of our promotional material or something like that, which is cool. Yeah,
that's
it's in a very niche, weird little space, a weird little space that I like.
Do you
like a corner?
Do you find that the kind of when you go on itch to find these games, could you just play them through itch as well? Unless they've got some kind of like crank, element that's needed to play on the Playdate. If it's just a game, just a standard game that they just decided that they can put out on the Playdate, is there the sort of anything to stop you from just playing it on PC instead?
Sometimes, it's Playdate only. Sometimes it's both computer and Playdate. Yeah, it just depends. Depends what build they put out, what APK they put out, and just it differs. It varies. Some are just like, oh, I already had a game out on itch, and now here's a Playdate version for it. So yeah, but there is what's the name of the development tool itself for Playdate? Hold on, let me have a look. Develop for Playdate. Okay, it's just maybe it doesn't have a name. Playdate SDK. Maybe that's the name of it. Yeah, I think it's just Pulp. Pulp is the name of the. Is that right? Pulp. I think that's right. Pulp, right. Yeah, it's Pulp. Yeah, which is the their own little, say like Unity or Unreal or something. It's their own little development kit for the Playdate. And some people make stuff via that, and I imagine they'd probably want to commission people to make games in Pulp. Pulp is free, by the way, which is really, really cool. So anyone can make anything. But I imagine the people who are making in Pulp, the people behind Playdate themselves are probably commissioning those people and saying, let's push that on the store, maybe. But yeah, I think it's just a cool little wacky device that I think the makers of it know it's niche. They're under no illusions, and I think it will just be small trickles every now and then, because I don't think anyone would have bought it thinking, yeah, I'm going to play all my games on this. This is going to be Steam Deck. This is going to be the next big indie machine or something like that. It's just like, I don't think anyone was expecting that. They were just like, oh, the guy who made Katamari and the guy who made Obra Dinn and Papers, Please. Oh, I'm nerdy enough to know who these people are. I'm going to buy this very strange, very niche, and getting more expensive now little handheld and see what that's all about.
It's gone up in price.
Yeah, they upped it by $20, which is not nothing, but it's not a lot. But I think just stuff to do with inflation and
like the PS5 went up in price, didn't it, last year as well?
Did it?
Yeah. I think the PS5 went up by about £50, something like that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Forget that. Sorry, that's a lot of money. I know it's already like a luxury item, but
yeah.
God damn.
Oh, well, no. If it's $450 or whatever it was, and it goes up to like £500.
But it's just like that console's like 3 years old at this point.
Yeah. They should be giving me money to have.
Yeah. There's no redesign just as yet to make cheaper parts and stuff like that. I'm just like, no, hell no.
Especially with them releasing a equivalently priced proprietary headset.
Oh, well, that's really a luxury buy.
Absolutely. If you've got a grand and you don't really know what to do with it, yeah, fair enough. Okay.
Yeah. So lighting it on fire. Get a PlayStation 5 in VR, I guess.
Or feel sick in Spider-Man or something like that. Just swinging through buildings like.
Is that on VR?
No, I doubt it. Man, you imagine playing Spider-Man in first person in VR with the speed of motion that you can get in that game. That would be nauseating.
There'd be nothing left. It would be like which Simpsons is it where they go to like the cider farm and Ned is talking to Homer?
I don't know.
And his brain, he was like, "You can stay here, but I'm not listening to this." And Homer's brain just floats away, and he just crumples. He just collapses. That would be me. Oh gosh, I'm gonna have to. I think it may have been from one of the later series.
I don't think I've ever seen that scene before.
Oh, it's very good. I'm gonna send it. You should just watch it live on air because I got nothing else to talk about. Here we go. It's 16 seconds.
Where are you sending this?
I will send it somewhere where it's accessible. I'll just send it in the call part.
I have to watch it on my phone because otherwise it fucks up everything. Let's see. The Simpsons. Yes, The Simpsons. That's what I want. Well, oh no, hang on. I have to pause it. Pause. Fuck you. My phone doesn't want to pause things. There we go. Turn my volume up. Everyone can listen to it. I get copyright striked whilst I'm watching.
I mean, you don't even need the sound.
Oh dear. Oh dear. That's very good. What happened to The Simpsons? For these little nuggets that we still get.
Gosh, what? Hold on. Burns, Baby Burns. Which season was that?
There's like the first 9 seasons.
Yeah.
I'm sure 10 seasons are just sublime. And then
season 8, one was from. So,
oh really?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. But yeah, I up to season 9 or 10, I think. Yeah. That's
what. What
Can't
happened
remember.
to Simpsons games as well? There was a
Oh,
time where there were
mate,
thousands of them, thousands of games featuring The
there were
Simpsons.
there were so many, and 98% of them were bad.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Okay, let's name the Simpsons games we've played. We've both played the arcade game. Very good.
Yep. Bart versus
Bart
the
versus the
Smokes.
Space Meat. Incomprehensible.
Yep.
Bad.
Great, but only great when that's the only game you have to play.
Yes.
And it's so hard. That game is incredibly difficult.
Yeah. And you spray aliens purple or something or red. Just inscrutable. I had a Game Boy Treehouse of Horror game.
Mm-hmm.
That was okay. One of the best games that isn't actually a game was just the CD-ROM of like Springfield.
Just
Just go around the. I loved that. That was so good. I think you collected like, was it baseball cards or something? That was very good. Yeah. Gosh, I'm trying to think from that era, not PC, but like pre-2000, because the ones after 2000 were like top tier trash.
What was the wrestling game?
Yes, I've played that. That was awful. I think it was just Simpsons Wrestling.
Is that what
it was so bad, but I liked it. But it was very bad.
I like a future, not even a future, like a past in which Simpsons Wrestling was successful enough that they just then brought out Simpsons Adventure, Simpsons Sports, Simpsons, X, Y, and Z. Just every single genre of game. It just features the characters.
Because there was Simpsons Skateboarding, which is the worst game I've ever played in my life.
I don't think I've played that.
It was. I think I have the disc somewhere. Was
it a Tony Hawk's clone?
I wish. If it controlled like 100th as good as Tony Hawk's, then I would have been okay. But it wasn't. It was. Oh my god, that game, awful. And Simpsons Hit and Run was very good.
Yeah, I played a lot of that.
But yeah, the wrestling wasn't good, but it was nowhere near as bad as skateboarding. I might watch like a let's play of that, because holy Christ.
Just to remind yourself.
Yeah, put myself through the pain and torture, because obviously I only had so much money for games then, and I thought it was a good idea to buy Simpsons Skateboarding. But I think it may have been after Hit and Run. So you're thinking, it might be alright. Didn't pay attention to who was actually developing these games.
Yeah. But like Hit and Run's quite a beloved game. Kind of across the board from everybody. And yet it didn't ever seem to spur on anything further in terms of The Simpsons. In kind of video game format. I just wonder whether it kind of just lost a bit of pace potentially. Was that around the time that the season started to get a little bit of loss of quality, and the brand wasn't quite as what it kind of had been. I remember when they released the film, it's like, I haven't watched The Simpsons in at least new stuff for a while, and there's a film coming out like very ill-timed in terms of when they kind of release some of these sorts of things. And Hit and Run seems like a bit out of place in the franchise, almost like everyone's almost not forgotten about The Simpsons, but they've moved away from them at least. And then suddenly Hit and Run comes out, and you're like, oh shit, yeah, Simpsons is great. Okay, this is cool.
Yeah. I've just gone onto the Wikipedia page of like Simpsons related games. Remember Simpsons Road Rage?
No.
Really? THQ published it.
They're all THQ games, surely.
Yeah, a lot of them were. Simpsons Road Rage. Okay. From the 2000s. Simpsons Bowling. I don't remember that. Oh, it was just arcade. Konami. So the Simpsons Wrestling, then Road Rage, then the Simpsons Skateboarding, then Hit and Run, and then I don't recognise any of the others apart from Tapped Out. because
Oh
people
yes,
spent
yeah.
lots of money on that apparently.
Oh, I do remember Road Rage, the Crazy
Yeah.
Taxi ripoff. Yes,
Mhm.
yes, I do remember it.
The Simpsons game in 2007, cell shaded.
Ooh,
This actually looks alright. I mean, it probably isn't, but like, hmm, I don't remember this game.
no, I don't remember that at all.
The art style looks cool. It
I've got a
says
picture
like
of Lisa
cell shaded.
playing a saxophone to dolphins. Um,
Yes, that's my IGN review. Yeah,
Bart's dressed up as Alberto. I mean, it's got all sorts of things.
yeah.
There's
I
Kang,
like the look of it.
pose.
In one world, this might have been a decent game. What did the IGN review say? What
There's
score did it
an image of Chief Wiggum is just on the floor.
get?
Who knows? Who actually knows?
7.7, good. IGN.
You know, I think we might have to
Interesting.
find this game, Lucy, and if there's any way
I
to be able to
mean,
actually play it
yeah,
anymore.
it's probably been delisted and everything. Probably need a. Wouldn't be backwards compatible.
There is there's a photo on Reddit. It's one of the first images that comes up. That this was on 360, PS3, Wii, PS2, PSP, and the DS.
How things were.
That's a lot of systems and a lot of different specifications to have to hit for one game.
Yeah, that was the folly of the licensed games. Well, to be fair, licensed games, I mean, a lot throughout the 2000s. And before that, actually, they were different on different platforms.
Yes.
So,
yeah.
completely different games. Like, something would be like, I don't know, a full-on strategy game on PC and would just be some point and click on like NES or something.
Just a 2-bit side scroller on the Game Boy or something. Yeah.
Yeah, completely different. Did you ever play the Celebrity Deathmatch video game? That was interesting.
Or the MTV one?
No,
I don't think I did.
Yeah, weren't great, but I mean, that was when Def Jam was around. And those games were very good.
Def Jam's brilliant.
Those games were very good. Bring those back. Wasn't there like some rapper who was like saying something?
There was something about a year ago when people thought that a new Def Jam game was being teased, or at least maybe a remaster. But again, is Def Jam like someone like THQ or something like that? So just the rights for that just don't exist. They do exist, but they're just locked down by some long dead company.
Get Embracer Group on it or something. But I wouldn't want any rappers from like, let's say, 2005 onwards, because I don't know any of them. So it's just I just want like 90s and early 2000s rappers in it. That very specific. I don't think it's a niche. People who would buy Def Jam these days are people like us.
Absolutely. It's some of the Wu-Tang is like ludicrous. Fucking all of the people that you fucking expect it to be, and then you've just got like some kind of and it's fine. Put in like a 20 quid DLC to get Lil, Johnny, and Barry Big Balls or whatever they're fucking called these days. Just whoever. Additionally, that all of the young kids can just be like, oh yeah, I love the lyrical fucking prowess.
Oh yeah, my mom used to listen to the Tupac. Yeah, go away.
But they have to make it in a way that all of the like OG cast, they've got like fatalities and all of the sort of shit that they could do, and then all the new characters, they've got none of that. They're just incredibly underpowered. And like you just see fucking Biggie just break a baseball bat around someone's head and they can't do anything about it. Like they got no counters, no anything. to it at all. Just Soup sets them on fire by throwing thousands of joints at them. Like just
Yes. We need to go to a publisher with this idea.
Yeah.
They'll be like, "Can you make games?" No. We're the idea men.
Absolutely.
The ideas people. We come up with the high level concepts.
That seems like a very good place to finish this week, and we can sell all of our lovely ideas to everybody. We'll return to the beers for a moment, Lucy.
Yeah, the gamer. Yeah, it's very nice. Not really much to say other than it was a very pleasant, light beer. It was finished rather quick. Well, probably would have been more quick if I wasn't playing Mario 3 through half of the podcast. But yeah, very enjoyable. It was good to see Dark Revolution cans back on shelves because I haven't seen them in a while. And I've always enjoyed their beers. So yeah, this one's good. Good for this gamer.
Nice. I haven't seen Dark Revolution for ages, so I'll have to see where I can pick it up. Under my umbrella from Arbor, it's very good. It's got a lovely flavour. That smokiness did disappear quite quickly. It's not hung around, which is nice, and it turns more into just a lovely soft beer. Very easy to drink. So I don't know why that kicked off from the can sort of straight away. So maybe open your can, let it sit for a minute or two, and then pour if you've got one of these. But as always, towards the end of the beer, the Arbor quality kind of kicks in. So that's very nice. Yeah, that's the beers and the games and the places you can get us are things like Twitter and Instagram at TaxUpCast. You can get me at Nova_47. Lucy is
Juicy Loose 9.
And we all hang out on Discord, the Out of Lives Discord, and ping one of us a link, and we can send you ping one of us a message, and we can send you a link, or you can go to outoflives.net and look at our beautiful faces and the beers that we have drank this evening on the podcast post there, which will also have a link to the Discord if you want to join us. Otherwise, we're releasing each and every week on YouTube as well as your podcast service of choice, where you can rate and review us, which would be incredibly helpful. That's it. That's everything.
Done.
I don't think there's anything left to say.
Brush your teeth. Nice kernel of advice at the end. Yeah.
I'm not even going to say bye, just going to leave it on that.
Watch out for gum disease. Bye.
Especially with all the sugary beers
yes,
we drink.
yes.
Absolutely. Yes, yeah, definitely.
PSA. We look out for the little man. Just end it.
www.outoflives.net